Great. So thank everyone for joining. Today's session is another free one, and one for hopefully tapping into our rest and relaxation response. We're going to use obviously the breath to do that. I have to mention those that are logging in from the UK, it is evening time. So I thought it was a great opportunity to down-regulate, create that relaxation response before we go off to bed. And then that's why, I suppose no one's asked yet, it's like, what's going on with the crazy glasses, Jacko? You look like a cross between probably Wim Hof, Jurgen Klopp, and Elton John. And it's probably something along those lines. But it's blue light blocking glasses to hopefully not mess with my circadian rhythm too much by looking at a screen. So if no one's ever thought about that, I'll come on to that, then that we can deal with those sort of questions at the end. But what affects things that affect our sleep? Yes, how we breathe will affect our sleep. But also things like what you've been doing during the day, and then what sort of light exposure you're getting at night. But this session is going to focus on breathing and breath work. So I am going to share my screen, just explain a little bit about some of the whys of what we're doing, and how it can, or why it will help. And then we're going to get into the practicality of doing it. So my name's David Jackson. A lot of you know me as Jacko. I'm a master instructor with the Oxford Advantage. So I teach breathwork sessions as well as teach other people to become coaches and become certified with the Oxford Advantage. I was a former professional rugby player, and I've retired from a head injury from my rugby back in 2013. So nearly 10 years ago, and that's what has brought me back into, or drew me into looking into breathwork. It was my brain injury that disrupted my own breathing. But this session is about helping you to understand how we can use our breath to control our nervous system and our stress response. I've got some noise from someone. If they're able to just mute yourself when you join in, if that's all right. So our hold on, that's going to do me head in. Participants, mute. There we go. Right. So our breathing is able to be a fantastic tool and almost like remote control to our autonomic nervous system. Our autonomic nervous system has sort of these two pathways: sympathetic, parasympathetic. Some people have heard of those technical terms. They're just fancy long words that make us feel like we're more knowledgeable than we probably really are. Sympathetic is the what people heard, the classic fight or flight, freeze response. That's our stress response. The parasympathetic is the opposite of that, the relaxation response. When we start to understand how our breath links in with this nervous system, very simply, we can utilize it to our advantage whenever we're looking to, well, we might want to upregulate and create some sympathetic tone if we're like warming up for physical exertion or activity or things like that. That's something that we do with the breath holding with some of the professional rugby players and teams that I work with, for example. But typically, most of us, and what we're going to do in this session is we need to have access and an opportunity to down-regulate and create this relaxation response. Something to look out for within that relaxation response is like some people call it like rest digest. The digestion part of it can be a really nice sign to know that you're actually you're doing it, if that makes sense. So what's that digestion response? Saliva building up in the mouth. So if you notice more saliva building up in your mouth, some of you will be drooling by probably the end of the session. If you notice more saliva building up in the mouth, that's a good sign. That's a sign that your body is shifting towards this relaxation response, this parasympathetic response. You'll feel more relaxed as well, and we'll talk about how the breathing is going to help facilitate that. Now, without trying to get too detailed, like just the minimum amount we need to understand, our inhales and our exhales are intimately linked with the autonomic nervous system. every inhale you take, your heartbeat speeds up and is more parasympathetic promoting. So part of it's related to managing blood pressure, but the inhales increase heart rate, sympathetic tone, or drive. Our exhales are the opposite. So our exhalations slow down the heart rate and is more parasympathetic, more relaxing. That happens with every single breath that we take. Okay, and a nervous system that's well balanced is one that can fluctuate nicely between these, not just stuck in stress state. And some people have come across things like heart rate variability. You might even have like an Apple Watch or some other tech device that helps. Other devices are available that will help manage or give you a value for your heart rate variability. That's like the time difference between heartbeats, and is a sign that one that's fluctuating just very small amounts means that you've got a reactive nervous system, which is obviously great because it's one that is well tuned or not become sort of dormant, or what's a better word, almost like dulled down. Okay, so one of the things that's responsible for the tone of the nervous system is the vagus nerve. Not you've got your last $10 on the roulette table at Las Vegas and you're really nervous. Not that nerve. Vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body, cranial nerve X, so it's the 10th cranial nerve. And it travels all, it's one of the longest nerves in the body, travels all to your major internal organs. And it is something that's going to help with this parasympathetic response. And we're going to utilize some humming at one point for that. The vibrations when we hum in the voice box innervate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve also travels and goes through your diaphragm. So we're going to talk about, and just to get a little bit of ensuring that we are utilizing the diaphragm, which again helps stimulate the vagus nerve. And then alongside that, so alongside some humming and some diaphragmatic breathing, which will gradually build up to this, we're not going to whole hog straight away, we'll build up to this. So humming and the diaphragmatic breathing, and I'll go through the detail of that, helps with vagal tone. Okay, so that's going to be useful for balancing this autonomic nervous system. And then we are going to extend our exhalations, and I'll try a few different ways with you. One, simply just slowing down our breathing and just inviting you to relax more on your exhalations. The other thing we'll do is we'll look at actually actively slowing those down. We'll look at a cadence of breathing of like 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, which helps to give you a guidance of something that's 1.5 times the exhale being 1.5 times the inhale. And then the final thing we'll go into is the humming, which if I do a hum now, I automatically extend my exhalation. Yeah, and I'm not even, I haven't even been practicing my humming recently, and I still can do it. As in, if you just ask someone to hum, it's a long exhale. Yeah, so it's not like it requires much skill or anything. It's going to happen automatically. Okay, so they're the things we're going to go through and do. Let's get a little bit of an understanding of. Whoa, look at that! This is the dude's diaphragm, and I'm sorry for there's been a number of ladies on the call. For whatever reason, he's a dude, but the diaphragm. This is where it's situated in your rib cage. So at the bottom of your rib cage, at the bottom where the lungs are. Now he's facing away from us. So one thing that's interesting is that you can see the attachments. There's a different attachment for the right and the left diaphragm. So it's one muscle, but it's sort of these two hemispheres. And the one on the right is slightly bigger than the one on the left. Now this is quite detailed. So you don't need to worry too much about this. But just to say, when we go through some of this, when we're trying to access the diaphragm, you might find that it feels a bit easier to expand with the diaphragm on the right hand side, and that's because of this. So you might want to just actively think about engaging into the left a little bit, but generally speaking, that just gives us a little bit of an idea of what that looks like. And then I'll show you a little animation of what there's in from the front. Oh, there's in from the front. Okay, it's very useful to be able to visualize and see this, because we can't see this in ourselves. Yeah, often we go like, and if you try and feel on your, and I'll invite you to do it in a second, to feel on yourself where the ribs are and how far down they go, and potentially where your diaphragm is, it can be a little bit surprising, or just like, okay, it's useful to be able to see this. Okay, this is just the second thing I'm going to show you. Then we're going to get into the detail together of just seeing what it looks like to see those ribs actually expanding on the inhale and then coming back together on the exhale. So I'll just play again. This is the diaphragm here. Yeah, we've got that right side and that left side. When we breathe in, the rib cage is widening and expanding, and then when we breathe out, it's coming back together. The diaphragm is drawing down and flattening out when it contracts on the inhale and coming back together on the exhale. Okay, it's an animation. Yeah, so it's not perfect, but nothing in life is perfect. If we wait for perfect, we're waiting forever. Yeah. So it's useful just to know where it is and then just see a little bit in action. Because one thing that's a bit surprising, it was for me, of like, oh, what crikey, when you breathe, your ribs, like they move, like they actually, your ribs move like that. I never really thought about that. And typically the movement won't come from low down here. Often we're stuck in these sort of stress states of breathing from much higher up. Okay, so let's practice a little bit of that together. One of my favorite things is very, very simply that what I love about all of this breathing stuff is it's very, very simple. Okay, which is what's great about it. And I believe that your body is designed to breathe very beautifully. It knows how to breathe very efficiently. And what I want us to understand is today, what we're going to try and do is take away some of the restrictions that are affecting your breathing, and that's going to allow your body to show you how efficiently, how beautifully it can breathe and how relaxing that can be, because more efficient breathing is less breathing, is calmer breathing. That makes sense? If you're efficient, you don't have to do as much. That's relaxing. If you're more efficient, you don't have to do as much. That's less effort, less load, less work, less stress that your body has to do just to keep you alive. Yeah, you got to, if you're not breathing, you're dead. So it's got to do that. Okay. So one thing we're going to do before, just to give you a little bit of a gauge and some feedback, before we do a little bit on those mechanics, you're just going to time. Sorry, you're not going to time. I'm going to time. Who's in charge here? I'm going to time 30 seconds. You're going to count how many breaths you take. And the task is, the job is not to breathe as small or as little or as less or anything as possible. Your job is just count your breaths. Try not to interfere with it. Try just to see what is it currently doing. That makes sense? Observe your breathing. Be the observer of your breathing, but don't forget to breathe. Okay? But just normal, just completely normal. Don't do anything to it. Okay? You just count. In and out is one breath cycle. How many breath cycles do you take? Okay? So in 3, 2, 1, go. So in and out is 1. Just count them. Just notice and observe them. How do you feel right now as well at the start of the session? And then also just notice as you do breathe that, try and tune into like, what can you feel moving within your body to make that breath come in and out? Something's moving in your body, the breath to come in and out. And also, where is it coming in and out from? And stop. No, was it the nose or was it the mouth? Okay. So you've got a number there. It might be, let's say, 7. We want that's in 30 seconds. I want to know what it is in a minute. Okay. So you can multiply it by 2. Or if you're really clever, you can double it. Hey, everyone's like, what? Same thing. Yes, it's true. So multiply by 2 or double it. Okay. And then if you're happy to, I'd really love to see, just put it in the, just a number, just in the chat box. And it doesn't matter what it is, if we're not comparing it to other people. And I'm just going to see some numbers. So 18, 14, 10, 10, 18, 11, 14, 9, 9, 12, 10, 8, 10, 6, 12, 13, 10. Now don't start going, mine was more or mine was less. Don't worry. I want you to compare what yours is at the end compared to now. Okay, and I'm just going to explain very simply. When you ask someone to focus on their breathing, you automatically slow it down. Earlier today, I had a client, really, really, really great example. His, we did this and his was 12. Okay, his aura ring. So the aura ring is one of the things that would tell him is his respiratory rate. His aura ring was tells him that his respiratory rate on average is 14.8. Yet when he counted with me, it was 12. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But that's because when you ask someone to count their breathing, even if you say don't slow it down, you will automatically slow it down, because focusing on your breathing is actually a very good practice to do. Just counting your breathing, you're going to slow it down. You're going to feel a bit calmer. It makes you think a little bit about what's going on internally. Okay, so that's a good thing. But what that does mean is, if you were 8 now on that, you might be more like 10. If you were 12, you're probably more like 14. If you were 18, you're probably more like 20. Let's just give a little bit of context. This is around efficiency. There's a number of things going on, but it tells us a little bit about what's the habit of your brain like in terms of the speed and cadence at which it wants to breathe out when you're not thinking about it and worrying about it, but you're just doing this little task with Jacko. Okay, let's make the math really easy. If I had someone that was 20 or even 15, let's take those examples, 20 or 15, we want you to be around about 10. Okay, so if I'm at 10 compared to me that's at 20, just to be alive, just to be here, before I've like put my red glasses on, before I've like set my mic up and tried to tell some jokes, I'm working twice as hard just to be alive, just to breathe. That makes sense? Or if I was at 15, I'm working 50% harder than I need to. That's effort, that's load, that's stress that the body has to do before you've tackled anything else in life. So if we can improve our efficiency of how we breathe, and I do loads of other sessions talking about this in terms of like how we can increase that oxygen uptake and deal with CO2 better, but we are going to experience this today, even by just the process of what the relaxation breathing we're going to do. I promise everyone at the end of this, I've never had a session where it hasn't happened for someone, everyone at the end of this, their breathing rate will be less at the end, and you will feel calmer. Some of us will be dribbling with saliva, other of us will just be feeling nice and relaxed. Okay, because we've all got the same wiring. We've got this autonomic nervous system, and when you focus on extending your exhalations and you relax your breathing, you create this relaxation response. There's no one out there that like, oh no, when I inhale, that's when I get my parasympathetic response. It just doesn't work like that. There is no special one out there that happens for. Okay, so that's nice because it's simple. Okay, so efficiency, we're going to improve our efficiency by doing less, and we're going to show you by, if we take some of the restrictions away and set you up for a more relaxing breath, and then a little bit on the mechanics, which we'll do now in terms of efficiency, you'll feel better breathing less because you're going to be more efficient. We're going to let your body show you how efficient it can be. Okay, so step 1 is mechanics. Okay, so we showed you those pictures where the diaphragm was, and showed you what it looked like breathing. We're going to now I'm going to move the mic slightly. There we go. I want you to grab your ribs, not someone else's ribs, your ribs. It's fine, they're your own. Okay, grab them. I can show you them. Look, there's one on one side. There's one on the other. Follow your fingers all the way down. Like, where does it go down? It's like right, almost down towards my hip. And where does it go up to the top? Like, if you find your collarbone, that's not even, your first rib is higher than your collarbone. Like that is huge area. Okay, and typically we can breathe from a little bit higher than here, which is less efficient. When we start to breathe from lower down with the diaphragm, drawing down and pushing those ribs out, like you saw on that animation, that's where more efficient breathing comes in. That's where calmer breathing comes in, but it also takes more time. It's a slower breath. Okay, but there's more blood lower down in the lungs because of gravity, and there's the greatest density of alveoli low down in the lungs, which I would say is down to because of where the blood is, but that's therefore by design. Okay, you can read into that what you want, but that's just the reality of it. So when you breathe from lower down with the diaphragm, then it's a slower breath, but more oxygen with each breath you take is going to get utilized and uptake into the tissues. So you're more efficient, so you don't have to do it as much. And it feels nicer because you're just asking your body to do less stuff. And the one main thing you got to do to be alive. Like everyone's got a big long to-do list, right? Every day at work, it's like, I've got a lot of stuff to do. And it's like, not on the to-do list is breathe, which is good because it'll happen automatically. but it is actually the one thing that you need to do. Otherwise, everything else falls over. In that, eating well is great, and all these other things that's on your to-do list. But if you don't breathe, you're dead. So you can't do any of those things on the list. Yeah. So let's do it well. Let's do it efficiently. Okay. So first thing, locate on your ribs, locate on yourself where your ribs are. Your diaphragm or the front attaches into the underneath of those ribs. So you can always dig your fingers underneath if you want and like give it a bit of a prod. You're going to be actually feeling and locating your diaphragm. It is a muscle, like any muscle. It responds very well to touch in terms of feeling it. So when you touch it and feel it, you're starting to make some maps from your brain to where that is. Okay. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to rub the skin on the outside of where those ribs are. Okay. So that angle that they come down at, we call that the infrasternal angle. It makes an angle with your breastplate, your sternum. Okay. So I want you to rub it quite strong. There's a lot of receptors in your skin that respond to touch. By literally rubbing them, you are waking those receptors up. I want you to rub the sides because we're going to breathe more laterally rather than vertically because that's more efficient as well. And then it attaches at the back of your spine. So get around the back and all. Lead boy, get around the back. And then make some nice rings all the way around, like big rings all the way around that lower portion of those ribs. And then let go. And feel where you're rubbing. Don't do this bit. But if I rub my head and let go, I can feel my head. Feel where you are rubbing. And now very simply, when you breathe in, feel that whole area expand. And as you breathe out, feel that area come back together. Mouth closed, in and out through the nose. As you breathe in, that area expands. As you breathe out, it comes back together. It doesn't, we're sat down, we're at rest. You could even do this lying down, okay? I want the breath to be quiet and gentle for this, okay? It doesn't need to be big and aggressive, okay? The other thing that I want us to do is to feel the diaphragm contract. The diaphragm contracts on an inhalation and it's trying to draw down and help push those ribs out. You felt that area expanding outward during that, yeah? I want you to take a breath in, feel that area expand, but then stop and hold your breath. So breathe in, feel that area expand, hold the breath and try and breathe in again. And you'll feel, just do one, you'll feel like a bit of an impulse from where that diaphragm is, trying to pull some more air in, but it can't because you're holding your breath. Give me a thumbs up if you can. I can see some people on the screen. Can you feel that? So if I breathe in, it expands and I breathe in again. So, okay, yeah, feeling it. If you're feeling it still up here, you'll just, I can try breathe in like this and I try and activate my diaphragm. But if I've got bad habits of breathing from high up, I need to think about breathing from down here. So that the rubbing and the touching of the beforehand, that's about creating some sensations to connect to. Yeah. In order for a muscle to fire, you've got to send a neuron from your brain. So your brain needs to know where your diaphragm is, and touching that area is helpful for mapping that. Okay. So now with the awareness, just rub on the outside of those ribs again. With the awareness of where that lower rib cage is, understanding when I breathe in, it's going to expand out. I want you to not hold your breath and try and breathe in, but remember what that diaphragm contraction was like. That was it, like trying to pull air in when you can't. But this time, just let it happen. So imagine you're doing what we call that blocked inhalation. We call that blocked inhalation. Imagine you're doing that, but just don't do it. And then let that diaphragm pull down and push out. And it's all going to be happening around here. Okay. I want you to put one hand on your upper chest and one hand below your sternum. Try and feel this lower portion expand. And notice that really that top hand should be very calm. If it's not, just relax those shoulders, smile. Smiling helps you relax, but shake out the shoulders. Make the movement come from the bottom hand. Okay, but that bottom hand it's just quite one-dimensional forward. So then next step is take your hands and put them on the outside of your ribs, but relax your shoulders. Breathe in, the ribs go out, the diaphragm moves down. Breathe out, they come back together. Take a couple of breaths like that, gentle and quiet, but feel your ribs pushing your hands out on the way in and the diaphragm moving down. And then when you exhale quietly, they come back together, the diaphragm goes back up. Okay. Final point, mouth is closed because we're talking about breathing in and out through the nose. We mentioned that already. Long spine. So just take your head, just think about taking the top of your head towards the ceiling. Chin's tucked, not rigid. So if you're rigid and military, you'll be like all tense and you'll be trying to relax. So don't tense, but just trying to think about creating a long spine, which helps position your rib cage a little better. And tongue, another muscle, to the roof of the mouth, behind the front teeth, not touching them, flat to the top of the palate. So the mouth is closed and relaxed and allows for proper resting position of the tongue up to the top of the palate. Okay. Then relax your hands down and just feel that nice diaphragmatic breath, gentle, slow and quiet, but just notice with a long spine. So I've got good posture, tongue to the roof of the mouth. I breathe in through the nose, diaphragm moves down. I feel the ribs expanding out in all directions. The ribs all the way around, like three-dimensionally. And when I breathe out, it comes back together. Okay, just take a couple of breaths like that. Forever. Because I'm going to guide you through some breathing that's not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on some sounds and some speeds, but I want in the background that nice three-dimensional diaphragmatic gentle breath to be happening in the background. Okay, so connect. If you have during the session, if you need to rub your ribs a little bit or do a blocked inhalation, like to make sure you've connected back to your diaphragm, then feel free to use those as little tools. Okay, I'm going to guide us through some slower breathing. As I mentioned before, we're going to want the first one is going to be to invite you to simply slow the breath down through relaxation and listening to the breath. A quieter breath is a slower breath. Then I'm going to guide us through some particular speeds where we'll really extend the exhalation more with a 4 in, 6 out. And then we'll introduce the humming at the very end of that. Okay. All of this is decreasing the total amount of air, so your ventilation rate, but decreasing the total amount of air coming through your system. Why that's important? Because that's going to allow for an increase in carbon dioxide. Now remember, whether you've come across this or not, but carbon dioxide is not the baddie. It plays some vital roles within the body. It helps with circulation. It helps with oxygen delivery to tissues. It's actually the catalyst that allows oxygen to be released from red blood cells. And very importantly, from a relaxation and stress reduction perspective, it actually calms the irritability of the conscious centers of the brain. So when we have very low tolerance to carbon dioxide and we're very sensitive to the buildup of it, we breathe faster, but also we're more likely to be agitated in the mind, much more easily to become stressed and anxious. From what's going on at the brain perspective, then also that faster respiratory rate is going to be more upregulating and more stressful from a nervous system perspective. So by slowing down our breathing and keeping a little bit more CO2 in the body, not only is it relaxing for the nervous system, it's also relaxing for the mind or for the brain, let's say rather than the mind, the brain. Helps increase circulation and helps with muscle relaxation too. Okay, so what you might notice is a little bit of air hunger, which is just like this feeling that, okay, I like to breathe a little bit bigger or a little bit faster, but it's actually okay like this. Okay, and hopefully we're going to relax into that, yeah, as much as possible. Okay, so that being said, everything we just went through in terms of that nice diaphragmatic breath, just channel and focus into that now. You can be sat, relaxed, but upright with good posture, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Equally, you could be lying down with your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor, head supported by a cushion, whatever's comfortable for you. And I'll take you through those 3 stages now. So just some soft awareness initially when I breathe in, through the nose, tongues to the roof of the mouth, diaphragm is gently moving down, the ribs are gently widening on the inhale. When I exhale, the ribs gently come back together, and the diaphragm returns back to its resting position. It's a contraction of the diaphragm on the inhale, so there's a little gentle bit of work to do on the inhale. On the exhale, if you just relax, the diaphragm will move back up, the ribs will move back together. You just need to relax and let that happen. So with each exhalation for this first stage, I just want you to focus on, can you relax a little bit more with each exhale? Can we let go a little bit more with each exhalation? Feel your bum on the seat, your back maybe on the seat or the floor. Feel your body. Notice how it feels. And with each exhalation, just feel yourself relaxing more. Your body becoming heavier and heavier. Following the breath in and just encouraging and inviting yourself to relax more on the way out. Let go. Nothing we need to do on the exhale, but just enjoy that breath coming out. And enjoy the different sensations in the body, and appreciate that as you just invite yourself to relax more and more with each exhale, you almost feel heavier. You can feel your body more, but appreciate all those feelings and sensations were already there. You're just heightening your awareness of them now. And gradually start to place a little more attention on the inhalation. Notice the air coming into the nostrils, and notice the air as it leaves the nostrils and you relax. Notice the sound the breath is making on the way in, and just keep relaxing more on the way out. And can you make that breath in a little slower? Notice it becomes quieter, and then keep relaxing on the exhalations. Try and make that breath in so soft and so quiet you can barely hear yourself breathing. And then relax more on the exhale. Let go of tension, both physical and mental. Can you make that breath in so quiet that if I was sat next to you, despite us being both very excited, I wouldn't be able to hear you breathe? And relax and let go and sink more on the exhale. Can you make that breath in so quiet, so soft, that it's silent to you on the way in, and you keep relaxing on the way out? If you've made that breath silent, or whether it's just very, very quiet, just smile either internally or externally. Smile and just enjoy that feeling of breathing so quietly, so gently. You can barely hear anything at all. You can barely feel any movements at all. It's almost like you're barely breathing at all, but it feels great. You feel relaxed. Your body's showing you how efficient it can be when we just set it up to do what it knows what to do. Keeping with that silent breath now, or very quiet breath, we're just going to introduce the pace, cadence. 4 in, 6 out. Now the speed I'm going to dictate of 4 seconds on the way in, But I can do a 4-second inhale like this, which is very gentle, very quiet, not much air coming in, or I can do a 4-second inhale like this. Okay. The second one, clearly I'm taking an awful lot more air in. So they're two extremes. You get to dictate the amount of air you take in with each of these inhales, but try to just relax it and quieten it more and more gradually as we go through. But don't make it challenging, it should be relaxing. Then the exhale is going to be 6 seconds out. Your exhale will be nice and relaxed. And how challenging your exhale, it shouldn't be challenging at all, but the exhale will become challenging if you breathe too less air in the 4 seconds. Okay, so I'm dictating the pace for us, but you still control how much air you take in. Okay, so the next soft, silent breath in will go in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, relax, 3, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, relax and let go, 4, 5, 6. Silent breath in, 3, 4, relax, let go, 4, 5, 6. In, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just count that in your own head for a few rounds. Now, some people really enjoy following a specific cadence. For some of us, it'll feel a little restrictive. It's a bit faster, or I want to go a bit slower. The final stage we're going to go to is introducing this hum. The humming, increasing that vagal tone, the vibrations in the voice box, helping to do that. And just by humming is an exhale, and by humming, that was quite a long one, but it's automatic, extends it. Okay. And what's nice of this is, you're all able to just work or whatever feels good for you. So don't force the hum, otherwise it will impact your next inhale. So on the inhale, to stay silent and gentle and relaxed. Okay. Anyone noticing any saliva building up in the mouth yet? There's a few people nodding. Faye, I'm appreciating your visual interaction. I'm feeding off your energy. You've been enjoying the session. Okay. So next inhale, and keep them all soft, gentle, and relaxed. So silent breath in and humming on the way out. Don't force it, just whatever that natural hum is. Then a silent breath in. Whatever it wants to do. Silent, gentle breath in. Humming on the way out, just in your own cycle. Some of us, the body will offer you a nice pause at the end of that hum. If it does, just ride it, enjoy it, but don't force it. If you force it, it's going to impact your next inhale. On the inhale, to be gentle, soft, and silent in the hum. Just ride the pause if it's there, but don't interfere with it. Silent breath in. Take the pause if it's there, don't force it, just enjoy it. Silent breath in, your own speed and your own cadence. Go for a couple more rounds of that. Notice the saliva in the mouth, if you haven't yet. Has that changed? Like, have a bit of, oh yeah, I can feel. That's it. That's you doing it. That's the digestion response. Yeah, that's parasympathetic activity. Great reason why a little bit of breathing, slowing down before we eat meals is good to help aid the digestion process rather than eating whilst we're stressed. And then also anyone that's going to be going to bed after this, hopefully feeling pretty relaxed as well. Okay, so what we'll do now is invite you to just count your breathing again. So just take a couple of normal breaths. You're not trying to slow it down. You're not trying to hum. You're not trying to do anything out. Go back to exactly what we did at the start. Just observe your breathing. We're going to observe how a little bit of focus on the quality and efficiency of our breathing changes things. Hopefully you feel good now and you feel relaxed, and also noticing that, like, yeah, I wasn't really breathing much. It was like I was barely breathing. And the more you practice this, Dawn's watching it from work. Does that mean you're falling asleep? Anyone that's fallen asleep at work? Yeah, I should have been do not do this whilst operating heavy machinery. Okay, so you're going to count your breathing. In and out is 1. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1, go. So in and out is 1. Don't play with it, just let it happen. But notice how the brain responds very fast, just a few minutes of creating an environment for your body to show you how efficient it can be with its breathing. Notice also how you feel and where that breath is coming from now. And stop. Ah! No one else will be excited by this, but I've got a thing about, look, that is exactly on. Hey, Gaston is feeling that, he's loving that. Exactly on. I went to the supermarket the other day and it was like $29.99 when I went for the checkout. And I was like, I don't know, also 29, I'd be buzzing for that as well, weirdly. Anyway, 30 seconds. Take that number, multiply it by 2. If you're not good at maths, double it. And then put it in, put the number, but also, I can't remember what you were before. Put it in and like put the 2 numbers. I looked at Tim Bowden's gone 6 from 14. So yeah, like what you were and what you've gone down to, or something like that. Yeah. So Claire Logan, lovely, from 10 to 5. 10 from 12, 10 from 14. Nice, nice, nice. Nigel, 10 from 18, fantastic. And if you're anyone that was like reasonably high, say like 18 or something, and you're now down at 10, like you're gonna feel an awful lot calmer now for sure. Okay. Nick Dolly, shout out. 9 down 7, great. And if if someone's starting at 8, 9 or 10, it's like you've got a nice low respiratory rate as it is. But remember, the amount of air coming in with each of those breaths is also a player. If I'm taking 10 breaths per minute, but they look like this, you're like, hold on, there's a screen froze. Now it's me doing gentle, soft breathing, so you can't even see me breathing. If I'm doing 10 breaths per minute, they look like this. There's a lot of movement and it's quite noisy and aggressive. I'm doing 10 breaths per minute, but I'm doing a lot of work, and actually, like, I'm being very inefficient. There's still a lot of air coming in and out during a minute if I'm breathing, even though it's slow. Yeah, so the speed is only just one element of it, but it's a good one to mark out. But if someone's already starting at like 8 to 10, like something like that, like you're already in a pretty good spot, as long as we're not doing super. Gaston, you might be MVP, buddy. 18 down to 7, and you must feel significantly more relaxed now, right? I can see you nodding along. Yeah, great. So you can see in a very short space of time, the system, the body responds. The brain is quite sensitive to how we breathe. Now that's great because those chemoreceptors that are in the brainstem respond to slowing down of the breathing like we just did, and all of a sudden we then retest and we're like, okay, I feel calmer, and actually I've got a number here that shows that I'm calmer, and I've got loads of saliva dribbling down my face. I'm making change. Now, if I can use you, Gaston, as just an example, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right as well. 18 down to 7. Now, if he waits like 10 hours and doesn't do anything, doesn't think about his breathing at all for the next 10 hours and retakes it, he's not going to be stay down at 7. You're going to revert back to somewhere of what your normality is, because a little bit of breathing well makes a change, but a little bit of breathing badly makes a change. And it might be that we spend a lot of our day not thinking about our breathing at all and breathe quite inefficiently. And the brain responds to whatever it does most of. The nice invitation with the breath is it's always happening. It's, as I showed us, it's not super complicated. You just might need a little bit of soft awareness to your breathing throughout the day, and maybe a few minutes here and there where you actually put a little bit of this stuff into as a specific practice. Like I like to recommend people and do it myself, bookend the day. So my true example is like that my alarm on my phone goes off. The alarm on the iPhone is 9 minutes long. I press snooze. I don't go back to sleep for those 9 minutes. I do 9 minutes of a breathing exercise of literally something like this, just setting those slower intentions of my breathing and calmer breathing for the day, and then do a little bit before I go to bed. And it's also great for recovery after training, down regulating after exercise for those that are into their training. And if you do that, well, then I've got 3 doses of this throughout the day interspersed, as well as some awareness to my breathing just in general. And then for some people, it can be as simple as that to make some really profound changes on the levels of stress within the system from a breathing and nervous system perspective. Yeah. So I do hope that has been helpful. I wanted to just this was about what I was mentioning about CO2, and CO2 literally affecting like the brain as well as affecting the nervous system. But if anyone is interested in, like I said, this will be available to watch you back on replay anytime you want. You can literally follow along. I've got there's a free foundations course on the new app Pro Breathwork that I've just brought out recently. That's got some recordings. There's a pre-bed one that's 10 minutes long that you can listen to. That foundations course, and there's 9 modules, and that's completely free. There's a specific one on like sort of stress and anxiety management with breathwork that's just 29 quid. There's live monthly sessions I do, and there's a 7-day free trial on those. It's only $4.99 a month, but you can watch as many replays as you want in those 7-day free trials. When you can cancel it anytime. So that's all on the Pro Breathwork app. If you search in the App Store or on your Google Store, you'll see, if you search Pro Breathwork, you'll see my ugly mug on the front of an app thing. And then there's some sports performance stuff in there. I'm doing an actual seminar on the 19th of July, and that's normally 20 quid, but it's there's a discount code JACO15. You buy that via Eventbrite. I'll send a link on an email if anyone's interested in that. And then I mentioned at the start, if anyone's like really into like learning this a little bit more for themselves, or wanting to be like a coach or certified, my next certification that I run to become certified the Oxygen Advantage starts on the 6th of July. There's 15 people already signed up for that, and I cap it at 20. So there are a few spaces left if anyone is interested in more in that. Otherwise, I'll do more free sessions. That's what the app's going to look like. And there's actually, for those that are like, this feels quite techy. I'm not that great at tech as those that joined in first. I couldn't even get my thingy to work. But that for your App Store and your Google Play, if you like, put your phone thing on your camera on them, it actually should bring it straight up for you. And I say the foundations course is free. There's some nice tracking things on it. So like you can track things like your respiratory rate over time, and bolt scores and things like that within the app, which is quite nice. And I say the foundations course is free. There's everything there from like some of the biomechanics, the biochemistry that we went through, some little tutorials, and then some follow along recordings if you wanted like a 5 or 10 minute breathing practice to do like up in the morning or in the evening or anything like that. So yeah, do check out the Pro Breathwork app. Otherwise, as this was done on Eventbrite, I try to do at least one of these sort of free ones a month. So look out for those if you haven't yet. And if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to take any questions now? Otherwise, you can go off. Thank you, Helen Okupa, if I'm getting that right. Apologies, I'm terrible at pronouncing anyone's name, let alone one's of mine. Oh, here you go. Questions. Is the sports performance seminar online? Yes. So Luke Hurst, that is online. It's a Zoom, 2 hours on the 19th of July. I'll send the link out for, it's on Eventbrite at the moment, so you can search it or find it, but I'll send a link out for that. Faye Roberts, is it best to aim for 4 in, 6 out? So the 4 in, 6 out is a 10-second breath cycle, which has been shown to be very good for that autonomic nervous system balance. So a 10-second breath cycle is 6 breaths per minute. So doing that in the morning and evening, yes, that's one great example. But as we were doing like the humming example at the end, if you ask someone to breathe in silently and hum on an exhale, we typically do something in and around 4 in, 6 out. Okay, but what's quite nice about the silent in and the humming out is you can actually just work at whatever's comfortable for you. So it doesn't have to be guided with a time if you don't feel like you get on that well with that. What I would say is typically for people, as they improve their breathing, their awareness of their breathing and their sensitivity to carbon dioxide, you get better at doing the stuff. And so I didn't used to like following something, but now I love following something. It'll probably go through that cycle again type of thing. But yeah, don't feel like you have to be restricted if you find it restricting. It's supposed to be calming and relaxing. Let's see if there's any other questions. Thank you. Lots of thank yous. Thank you to everyone that did join. Lydia feels so much more informed about the PNS response now. Oh, great. We just did the basics. It's not, it isn't that super, well, it will be way more complicated than we're making it, but we're sort of dumbing it down, I guess, aren't we? So we can all understand it. Do you recommend, oh, Nigel, good question. Do you recommend alternate nostril breathing to aid breathe light? So by blocking one nostril, you can create some automatic air hunger for sure. Like that's a more challenging exercise for sure, because you're simply like halving the amount of space you've got to breathe through. So doubling the resistance effectively, which creates some automatic air hunger. When someone's, depending on where someone's at with their CO2 tolerance / sensitivity, that might make you feel a little bit like panicky. It might be a bit too challenging, and then it's not relaxing. It's something to sort of build up to. It's not something I do sort of with someone on day one, but it can be very useful. There's another other things that like the added resistance that single nostril breathing provides. Gives a challenge and a load to all of your inspiration and importantly expiration muscles. So it's more challenging on the inhale and on the exhale. We use a lot of that in some of the sports performance stuff when we're trying to get a little bit more like diaphragm strength or the respiratory muscle strengthening. Why does my heart rate go up when I first slow my breathing down when meditating? If you're slowing it down, like making it hard to slow it down, like forcing it to slow down, it could go up. But generally speaking, when we slow our breathing down, we slow it down through relaxation, and particularly when the exhalation is longer to slow it down, that will help your heart rate decrease. Is a certification for advanced breath workers? I'm yoga teacher and thinking about no more. So Camellia, yeah, no, the certification it's not fair. You don't have to be an advanced breath worker at all. We get a number of yoga teachers doing it actually, but we get everyone from people involved in sports or personal trainers or physios or yoga teachers. And then we also get a lot of people that are might be a health coach, or they might actually might work in IT, but actually are thinking, oh, I want to. I actually got someone signed up. He is going to try to utilize his business, or the people he work for are paying for him to do it, hoping that he will then. He works at a museum, but hoping that he will then do some breathing sessions to help people to manage their stress better. So he's got zero experience in it whatsoever. So no, you don't need to have any. You don't. There are no prerequisites. I recommend that you are interested in like breathing and health and physiology, because we go into quite a bit of the science behind what it is that we're doing with our breathing and how it affects our physiology. What is the reason for placing the tongue in the to the roof of the mouth and the top of the palate? It's actually the correct resting position for the tongue. So when it affects the airway and helps to stabilize the neck. So when the mouth is open and we're mouth breathing, and I guess just when the mouth is like resting open, the tongue then becomes lazy and rests at the bottom of the mouth, and it actually will restrict the airway slightly. When we have the mouth closed, it gives us a chance to put the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And if you just compare the two, if you have your mouth open and the tongue at the bottom of the mouth, and then breathe in through the nose, and then close the mouth and put the tongue to the roof of the mouth and breathe in through the mouth, breathe in through the nose, it feels clearer. The airway feels clearer, and that's one of the key reasons why we would want the tongue there. Any other questions? Just have a quick look. There we go. That's it. Seba, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. Most of you all stayed for all of the questions at the end as well, which is nice. Hopefully it's been useful. There was what I've just seen. Someone yawn. Is it Dicky? Someone else. Someone said they felt sleepy afterwards. Now we were down regulating. So if you were quite relaxed before, you're going to feel sleepy. That's why it's great to do before bed. But don't confuse that with like if I was like stressed and need to down regulate. That's going to take me from like a stress state into I can actually cope with life again now. It's not going to always automatically make you sleepy. It's going to take you from where you were, and it's going to down regulate. It's going to bring you down. It depends on where your starting point was. So if you're feeling sleepy now, I bet, but the start of the session was like, I was feeling quite okay. I was just looking forward to the session. Like, yeah, now I've relaxed into it and I feel great, but I feel actually a bit sleepy now because we've really brought ourselves down. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Simon. Check out the Pro Breathwork app. I say there's the free foundations course, and for a lot of people, like everything that I've put into that free foundations course will be, be ample, be more than enough. The additional things is if you like doing live sessions, or you want to dive into a little bit of the stress management or the sports performance stuff, you want to dive into that a little bit more, then there's courses there that are more detailed. But that's not to say the foundations course isn't good. It's just that the basics are actually, and the simplicity of breathing means that we don't have to have super complex stuff for people to be able to feel an awful lot better and feel the benefits from it. And one of the things I'm passionate about is making breath work normal, so it doesn't have to be this like weird thing. I mean, yeah, I've got loads of bandanas and you'll see pictures of me running around doing silly stuff, but equally just being sat here now, like I should be able to breathe in my diaphragm, I should be aware of my breathing, I should be able to listen to it, and it should be able to be something that I can just integrate into my daily normal lives. And ultimately it's the one thing you got to do to be alive before anything else. And it makes a huge difference when you, one, do it more efficiently, and two, understand how you can use it to help sort of down regulate and manage levels of stress and feelings of anxiousness, etc. And it's a pleasure. Thanks for everyone for joining. It's a pleasure to be able to share that with everyone. Oh, good. Here's a good question. Final one. So thanks. Yeah, I'm just going to say this from Simon. Is the aim to be consciously breathing all the time? That's a great question. And I think that I certainly went through a phase of being like overly like, oh my, I have to, like, you can't be so infatuated with it that you can't then like live the rest of your life. Rest assured, when you don't think about your breathing, you don't die, it carries on. So it has this beautiful automatic and autonomic function, so you don't have to worry about it. It's like little bits of work that improve. So being consciously aware of it for little parts of the day, so that when you're not focused on it, you're still generating and working off those nice rhythms and habits that you create whilst you are conscious and awake. Yeah, so don't go too over the top of it. And then Teresa, is the certification online or in person? It is online. So it starts on the 6th of July, which I think is a Wednesday off the top of my head. And it's for 9 weeks, same time, 4 till 6 p.m. I'll send a link with the details of that over on an email, along with the recording for the session, if you're interested in that, Teresa. Or you can check it out if you go to rootedlife.co.uk. You'll see under Breathwork certification, so you can check that out. Cool beans. I think Nigel that signed up, actually, you were on the call, aren't you? I've just seen you. Right, thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Teresa. Any questions, you can reply to my email as well. And look forward to connecting with you. Till next time, keep it nasal. Enjoy France. Siba. Bye. Cheers, everyone. Bye.